Okay everyone, this is Brian from Provision Studios, and I was asked to make a video on basically how to set up your camera. This is the Canon VIXIA HF G60. So I'm in my studio and I'm just gonna set it up to for just a standard shot here in my room. So we'll start at the top. The first thing you want to do is check your resolution that you're recording at. So you're going to hit the menu button, which is the lower left hand corner of the back of the camera. You just push that, and you are going to use the joystick and go over one to the recording setup, page 1 of the recording setup. You're going to either arrow down, or you can use the touch screen here, and you are going to select your resolution. Now you have 4 options. You can record in 4K, which is 2160. You can record in 1080, and there's 2 levels there, 35 megabits per second and 17 megabits per second. And then you can do the 4th option, which is 720. This gives you 8 megabits per second. In this example, we're just going to use the 1080p at 35 megs. And then your next selection is going to be your frame rate. So depending on what you're trying to do here, you're going to change the frame rate accordingly. If you are, for example, recording some B-roll and you know that you're going to want to slow that footage down, you would then want to keep that somewhere between the 30p to 60p. I would recommend 60p on anything that you know you're going to slow down in camera, especially if you're on a 24p timeline. The reason being is if you select 30p, the 29.97, what you would slow that down to when you go to a 24p timeline is not going to be significant enough to really add any kind of slow motion effect. Now, I will say this, I do like shooting in 30p and slowing down 20% to go into a 24p timeline, but not because I want slow motion. It gives me a little more dramatic kind of effect. Again, there would be no audio recorded in that scenario. If I'm slowing any footage down, I want to record. If I'm not slowing footage down, I want to record in the resolution of my timeline. In this case, 24p. If I'm going to slow footage down, then audio is not going to be used. I would do 30 or 60p. All right, okay. The recording media basically is what are you recording to. You should be recording to your SD cards. You can select your recording mode if you want dual or relay. And again, unless you are doing fast or slow motion recording, you would not use this. Now these options are good because they allow you to use the camera settings to manipulate the footage, do the retiming. Even though that is nice to have, I do like doing that in my software. All right, so that's basically all you need here. Another thing you're going to want to look at is we're going to go to the camera setup. We're going to go over to page 3 to your image stabilizer. If you're on a gimbal, there really is no reason to have the stabilization on. You can turn that off. Okay? And then we're going to go out of here. We're going to go to our camera settings now on the actual screen. So, if you are focused on any one object, then that is fine. This camera does a really good job of holding focus. So you can see right here in the right hand corner, actually the right side of the screen, we have our frame rate. we have our file type of recording, and we have our resolution. So 24p, recorded at an MP4 format in 1080p at 35 megabits per second. Alright, so now over on the left hand side of the screen, we can see we have our aperture, our shutter, and our gain settings. Those are the three groups of numbers that are right here. Shutter, I'm sorry. We got our shutter, we have our iris, shutter, and gain. So for our iris, depending on the type of shot we want, we might want to go down to the lowest setting we can, which on this camera is an f2.8. We also might want to go a bit higher and have things more in focus, which would be an f11 is our highest aperture setting. Then our shutter is going to be reduced to double of our frame rate. So we're shooting at 24p. We want our shutter to be 1/48. And then now our gain, or ISO, we are going to want to adjust that to get good exposure. So 28 dB gain gets our exposure up probably where it needs to be. Next, we're going to set our white balance. Now, auto white balance is used commonly in many situations. Sunny would be one that you would want to use if you were outdoors, or daylight rather. Tungsten would be used for indoor tungsten lights. You could select a K value. If you select on it and hit here, this allows you to go and hit a certain Kelvin value. And then this is what I use. So this is your custom white balance settings, and what you need for those is a gray card. And what you would do is you would go up to this icon here. You would take your gray card, put it in front of your lens, like so, and then you would hit that icon. And now it has set our custom white balance for the lighting in our room. So now we know we have accurate white balance. If you do not have a gray card, it is okay to use your auto white balance in this situation. It's going to get you close. Now, if you are painting around in a room and the lighting is different from corner to corner, then auto white balance will change. It'll change the white balance of your shot. If you use any one of these other settings, they will keep your white balance to what it is. That's why I like to use the custom white balances with a gray card, is that guarantees that my white balance is going to be consistent throughout my shot. Okay. Focusing, magnification, and zoom, you're not really concerned about that when you're doing indoor shooting. So, well, I won't worry about that right now. Now, next will be your custom picture profile. I am using a profile I created under the wide dynamic range setting. What I did is I went into the black master pedestal. I adjusted that to -10. I went to the sharpness level. I changed that to +10. And I went to the color matrix gain setting and I adjusted that to +20. And that is my custom wide DR setting. Now, you can use any one of these. You've got EOS standard, C-Log 3, this the regular YDR, and then the normal setting. Normal is the standard camera profile for the Canon VIXIA HF G60, which is really good. You can use that as well. Now, again, I like to use the YDR. So there we go. And there you go. That's our shot. Now, again, we can adjust any one of our 3 exposure settings, our aperture, our shutter, or our gain, to get the shot the way we want it. Let's say, for example, we wanted to use a lower aperture. When we start lowering our aperture, our exposure is going to go dark, or actually is going to brighten up. So we are going to then want to lower our gain or our ISO so that we don't overexpose. So let's do that right now. Let's lower our aperture. Let's go to, let's say 5, or let's go to f4.8. All right. Now I'm going to want to reduce my gain to get my exposure back in line. So there we go. So at f4.8 in my room, I can use a 14 dB of gain to get a good exposure. All right. That's really it. At this point, you would just hit the record button and start recording. Another option that you would have is you could put this camera into auto mode. There's a switch on the top right hand side of the camera. It literally says the letter M or the word auto in a surrounded white box. So if I switch this camera to auto right now, you're going to see everything change. So there you go. Now I'm in automatic mode, and you can do this if you're not sure of the settings that you're wanting to do, or you're not pleased with the quality that you're able to capture when you do manual settings. Now this may take a while for someone newer to using cameras to get used to using manual mode, but auto mode on this camera is really good. It will get you going. It will definitely get you usable footage, so don't feel bad of using auto mode. I just would tell you this. Auto mode on these cameras is fine, but you could get fine quality auto footage on a camera half the cost. The reason why you would buy a camera at this price point would be for the manual functionality of it. So again, use it at your desire. If auto is what you need to get started, and then you slowly start working in manual footage as you get more and more confident with the camera. There's nothing wrong with that. For me, I like keeping the camera in manual mode. It gives me much more control over my shot, and in my opinion, gives me better footage. You know, I'm able to get a better quality image when I use manual mode. So, okay, if you have any questions about what I showed here today, please leave them in the comment section below, or you can always email me at bbuck822@gmail.com. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And until the next video, I'll talk to you soon. Okay? Bye-bye now.